the BMW X7 M60i, a blend of power, luxury, and massive proportions. Today we're covering everything from acceleration and braking all the way to the toughest crash tests to see just how capable this German giant really is. And yeah, this car is genuinely gorgeous, but we're not here to talk about looks. We're here to talk about capability. So first up, let's get into the acceleration and braking test, where expectations are pretty high for this sporty beast. As you can see, this car managed to hit its top acceleration in just 6.5 seconds. But its brakes, genuinely nothing to write home about. It went from 100 to 0 kilometers an hour. It managed to stop from 100 kilometers an hour in 45 meters, which honestly isn't a very impressive number for a car like this. But we're not stopping here. Let's move on to the suspension test. So what do you think this car's suspension performance is going to look like? This is technically a luxury vehicle, but honestly, the suspension test here is going to disappoint you. Even the tiniest road imperfections send noticeable shakes through the cabin, transmitting vibrations straight to the occupants. And on the rough terrain, let's just not even go there. The performance is genuinely awful. Honestly, if I put a $30,000 Toyota up against this thing on rough terrain, that Toyota would win, no contest. And that's a pretty bad look. Even on urban speed bumps, this car really has nothing good to offer, and we honestly can't count on it in that department. But hey, a stiff suspension can sometimes mean solid handling, and we can see that clearly in the handling test. The car passed our moose test at 55 kilometers an hour. We pushed it up to 60 kilometers an hour and it still passed. We bumped it up a bit more to 65 kilometers an hour and it powered through that too. But once we hit 70 kilometers an hour, it couldn't pass at that speed. So we dialed it back down to 68 kilometers an hour, 2 clicks lower, and the car handled it just fine. So for the moose test, we can lock in 68 kilometers an hour as the number for the BMW X7 M60i, which honestly is a really solid result considering this is a heavy, tall SUV. Now we're getting to the exciting part of the video, the crash tests. This is where we find out just how strong this car's chassis and pillars really are, and whether it can properly protect its occupants. First up, the pillar strength test and rollover test. For the pillar strength test, this car makes history on the channel by registering an unbelievable number, 81,000 newtons. I genuinely can't believe this car pulled off this number. I've never seen a figure like this on any car before, and up until just recently, the Porsche 992 actually held the record for pillar strength, but that record now officially belongs to the BMW X7 M60i. But the real question is, with a number like that, can it still protect its occupants? That's what we're about to find out in the rollover test. And if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We put the car on the roll bar to run the rollover test, and boom, what you're seeing here is genuinely bizarre and extraordinary. This car is seriously heavy and took some brutal hits, yet it still managed to protect its occupants really well. That's genuinely fantastic. Just don't pay too much attention to those dummy hands flopping around there. Given the performance we just saw, let's move on to the 50-degree offset crash test, where the car hits the barrier at 64 kilometers an hour. And honestly, all I can say here is wow. Despite its heavy weight, this car once again puts on a great performance. Genuinely impressive. But we're not satisfied with just this one test. Let's move on to 100-degree offset crash test. here again, the car shows a great performance, though of course 100-degree offset tests are always easier and less demanding than 50-degree tests, putting less pressure on the roof and pillars. But let's go ahead and run the 100-degree head-on collision anyway. Yep, where both cars slam into each other at 55 kilometers an hour. This is where a massive amount of force gets applied to the car, and once again, it powers through and protects its occupants really well. It's genuinely impressive how safe this car manages to be. Of course, we've still got much tougher tests ahead, so make sure to stick with me till the end of the video. Moving on to the rear-end crash test, honestly, nothing too dramatic happens here, so there's not much more to say about it, though I will note that the car does take a fair amount of damage in this scenario. Next, the side impact crash test, and here I can genuinely say the car put in a solid performance. To back that up, I'm bringing the camera view inside so you can see for yourselves just how minimal the impact on the occupants really was. Having side airbags would honestly help a lot here too, which does exist in the real production version of this car, but it's up to you to decide how many safety stars this car deserves. Now we get to the next terrifying test, where a Volvo weighing 10 tons slams into our car with a 12-ton trailer positioned right in front of it. This is genuinely a brutal test, and I like to call it the sandwich crash test. As you can see here, the car once again puts on a great performance and does an amazing job keeping its occupants as safe as humanly possible. Honestly, this is exactly the kind of performance you'd hope for from this car. In my opinion, at this point, this car easily deserves a full 5-star safety rating. But to crank up the difficulty even more, I positioned the car at a 50-degree offset behind the trailer, and boom, the performance here is genuinely excellent too. No matter what you throw at this car, it keeps proving itself in the safety department, which is honestly fantastic. Nothing more to add there. But safety isn't just about the occupants. Sometimes we need to consider pedestrian safety. So here, we run the car into a pedestrian dummy at 40 kilometers an hour. As you know, the goal is for the pedestrian to take the least possible impact, and as you can see, the car manages to pull that off pretty successfully for the most part. But in the end, it's up to you. Drop a comment and let me know how many safety stars you think this car deserves. Waiting to hear your thoughts down there. See you in the next video.